Hello, this is August 21st, 2017. There's going to be a solar eclipse later on today that's going to pass all over the whole United States. So I felt it'd be good, good opportunity to make a video to put up on YouTube, right? Right, so I like to keep these kind of things loose to just improvise and let the spirit inside me tell me what to say. Although I have a vague, a generalized talking point that I want to tell you about. See, ever since I was small, I've been sexually submissive to women, like about 3 or 4 years old, and it never changed. It's just been continuous. Now I'm 54, and it's been that way continuously, and it was pretty bad, stigma to grow up with. When I found out in high school that people like me were considered perverted, that was a shock to me, because I didn't know that I belonged to that class of people, in society that were regarded as perverted. So that was a big shock in my freshman year of high school, St. Francis Prep. That same year, my hair was falling out. I was 13, my hair was falling out, and the girl that I loved from the previous summer, the summer of '75, I was in love with a girl in the summer of '75, and then a year later she didn't love me anymore, and I was pretty devastated over the summer. And then I had to start a new high school, so I was losing my hair. The girl that I loved didn't love me anymore, and I found out that I belonged to that I was a member of that class of persons in society called perverts, and I had to cope with all that in freshman year, plus try to do schoolwork like trigonometry and ridiculous biology, like memorizing the digestive system of a worm, or the cosine of functions and all that nonsense. I had no kind of energy left over to do that. So one of the main thrusts of my life has been to normalize this orientation of being submissive to women. I don't think it's a bad thing if you don't take it to extremes. I mean, who says men have to be the dominant ones? They don't. Men have ruined everything. The whole planet is practically dying. It's practically dead now. I mean, it's practically too late already to do anything about it, But if we have any hope at all, I feel, it's that women are going to take over and start taking control. Women, wake up. Start taking control. Men have effed everything up. It's up to you. You're the only ones that can save the planet, so wake up. Come on. I mean, I know it's a luxury to be the submissive, but you got to get up and take the leadership roles already. Come on, it's almost too late. And the men, hey, come on, admit it. It's over. It's almost over. Men ruined it. Men ruined everything. But so a large part of my project in life has been to sort of normalize being submissive to women, because I have an extremely high IQ. I don't like the idea of people considering me defective or second rate or something. That's not true. I mean, I'm superior to the majority of men. I'm superior to 99% of the men out there. So the fact that I'm submissive to women is ridiculous to say that I am less than them. That's nonsense. So but anyhow, along those lines, when I was in one of my college experiences in 1987, I had been in a college, but then I stopped. And on May 1st, 1987, I was pretty upset because I had been suspended from a college because there was a professor, a short story professor, who felt threatened because my knowledge was equal to his, and he didn't like that I knew just as much as him about short stories. And he felt threatened by me, and he one day he used my lateness as an excuse to ask me to leave, and then had me suspended. So I was pretty upset on May 1st, 1987. I think it was a Friday, if I remember correctly. It could be looked up in an almanac, or April 30th, around then, May 1st, 87. But I was alone in my room. It was in this house, and it was in a furnished attic, which was my bedroom all my life. And I was alone in the dark, and now this is the important part that I'm going to tell you, okay? This is really, really, really important, okay? I was alone in my bedroom in the dark, and I was not intoxicated, I wasn't drunk, I wasn't high, and in the space in the middle of my bedroom, like a sort of circle opened up, or a window, sort of like a window or a portal. If you look on, if you ever, I have never been on a sailing ship like a cruise ship, but I see pictures of portals and things on I got to get rid of something here. It was like a round window, almost like a mirror, opened up in the middle of the space in my room. And I telling the kids in my college that I was submissive to women, and some of them accepted it, some of them didn't, but they were pretty okay about it, but then I was suspended from the school that day, or earlier that day, or the day before, I can't remember exactly, but I know this was on May 1st, and I had been talking about the goddess too, because by that time I understood that one of the main obstacles to accepting female domination of female-led relationships, female-led society, is the patriarchal bullcrap about patriarchal gods. The Abrahamic God, the Abrahamic religions, and God the Father, the patriarchy. That's all. That gots to go. If you know what I mean. That gots to go. So the only alternative to that, as I see, is either agnosticism, atheism, or goddess religion. So I mean, come on, there's millions of people around the world who worship the goddess. In India. In Buddhism, people don't know this, but there are Buddhist goddesses, like Tara, Vajrayogini, many, So there's nothing wrong with goddess worship, especially, when they use this patriarchal god to like bully everybody and control everybody, So that gots to go, because that's what they use. That's the threat. Well, God is going to get angry. God doesn't like that. So you got to blow that off. Don't believe that. That's a lie. It's another lie. So, like I said, I've been worshiping the goddess for a long time, and it helps you to integrate. If you're submissive to women and you worship the goddess, you create a holistic spirit within you that way. Totally integrated. Right. So I've been telling the kids at my college that, I was a goddess worshiper and submissive to women, and it worked pretty well. And I felt good. But then this day that I got suspended, I was alone in my room, in the dark, and so wouldn't you know, she appeared to me in my room. I just, it was the most amazing miracle that ever happened to me, right? So in the space in the middle of my room, like a window opened up, and I saw her. And I'm not going to tell you everything, because certain things I can't tell you. But I remember how she looked. I was like 24 then, and she was about 33 years old, and she was looking across from a different dimension in at me. Now where she was, it was nighttime, just like it was where I was in New York. And she had long, like past the shoulder brown curly hair. She was pretty, she was attractive, and she had like past the shoulders brown curly hair, full, and she had a pretty face, and she was looking at me, and there's parts that I have to edit out, but she was extremely powerful. As soon as she appeared to me, we had a telepathic communication. There was no speech. I would say, like in terms of world time, like in terms of this dimensional time, we were together maybe 10 minutes or so, maybe 15 minutes, and we were communicating a lot. But it was telepathic. I didn't speak, but we, and she didn't speak, but we knew each other's thoughts, right? But I couldn't have told you that at the moment. I didn't know the difference between speech and telepathy in that moment, so she asked me a lot of questions about what happened in school, and I sensed her power. I sensed her authority. It was obvious to me. As soon as she appeared in my room, I addressed her as mistress. And that was the right thing to call her, because she was almighty. She was the goddess. She's just as powerful as the universe, as everything, as God, as any god. She's just as powerful as any god, The goddess is just as powerful as any god, And she appeared to me, and I was like, wow. So I was extremely circumspect and respectful, and polite and honest and truthful to her. And I could see her in the space about maybe midway in the middle of the room, and she asked me to explain to her what happened in school with the professor and all that, and I absolutely told her the truth. The thing is, she taught me a technique to absolve myself of negative karma, or to pass it on to her. She taught me a technique which I am not going to tell you because I can't at the moment, but she taught me a technique to transfer my negative karma to her so that I wouldn't suffer it, and Yeah, and that it would relieve me of it, and then she would take care of it. So she taught me it's a secret I can't tell you. And let's see now. I was trying. What goddess? What can I tell him? What can I tell him? It might have been Mary Magdalene. She reminded me of a witch that I had been. See, the thing is, I just felt so close to her. See, I felt so closely identified with her that I was thinking, was she me in a previous lifetime? Like, she seemed to be in a day of like the medieval times. She was looking into my time and our time from medieval times. Like, so she was looking from where she was looking ahead to the future where I was, and she was looking in on me, and I strongly identified with her as if she was an aspect of me, a higher aspect of me, like a soul, my anima, my part of me, my being. The goddess within me had suddenly exteriorized or was looking on me from I was thinking, was she me in a previous lifetime? Was I a witch? She seemed to be a powerful, like a witch, a woman with supernatural power. Like, she was looking into me, right? And I'm saying this now because it's the day of the eclipse, because I wanted to multiply the effect of this. So she stayed with me. She now that I think about it, there's a lot of things I'm not allowed to tell you. Oh well, but one of the last things she said to me was, she said, I have one very important question at the end of this to ask you. She said, how would you feel if everyone in the world knew that you're sexually submissive to women? And without missing a beat, I said, that would be the most liberating experience I could think of. Right? And that was the right answer, because at that moment, the goddess, I'm going to take my glasses off, the goddess winked at me like that, and she smiled at me. And in that moment, when she winked at me and smiled at me, my heart was filled with the most burning divine love, like the love of a divinity. Like her, there was like a ray from her eyes when she winked at me, from her heart and her eyes, of like a laser beam of love into my heart that set it ablaze. It was a sacred love, a divine love. And that's how I knew that my answer to her question was the correct answer. Also, her love surpassed any human love. The power of the goddess's love, when she burned my heart with it, surpassed any human love I've ever felt. Imagine the greatest love you've ever felt in the world, for a parent, for a child, for a sibling, for anybody, a cause, an ideal. This was far more intense, and also it was uniquely mine. It was uniquely specific to me. So it wasn't a generalized kind of love, like altruistic kind of generic kind of mushy love. It was specifically for me, James Mullaney, from the goddess, this almighty person. And it was because that I said that it would be the most liberating experience I could think of if everybody in the world knew that I'm sexually submissive to women. So that's how I know that it's not a mistake to do this. That's how I have so much confidence to do this, because she more or less instructed me to do it, and that's why I have no doubt that this is the right thing to do, and I have no fear either, because what's the worst that could happen to me? Will I be killed? Will I be martyred? Hey, okay, that's okay. The goddess told me to do this. I'm not fearing anything. I have no fear, none whatsoever, So I couldn't care. I don't care if the universe ends. I don't care. The goddess loves me. I have no fear of anything, no doubt of anything, So, and anyway, what other choice do we have? What other hope do we have? What other hope do we have? Is Jesus going to come? When is he coming? Ask the Catholics. Ask the church. Huh? If Jesus is coming, he better get here soon, right? What are we waiting for? Waiting for Godot? What are we waiting for? Godot? I mean, this is our best bet. So then, after she winked at me, and if you read the book Mysticism by Evelyn Underhill, she talks about the mystics, like the mystics that's in the medieval Catholic mystics, like Teresa of Avila and Catherine of Siena, and them, and Saint John of the Cross, and they beheld visions of Jesus, and they their heart was set to burning with divine love, You know, well, that's true. I had that too. But see, the god or goddess who appears to you is going to be the one you've been worshiping all along. You know, they saw Jesus because that was the god they were worshiping. I saw the goddess because that's the divinity I was worshiping. But it's the same source of divine love. You know, it just depends. The god or the goddess takes the form that you project it into. You know, so I know that my visitation, my vision, was just as valid as the saints. That's why I'm not any doubt about my vision, the visitation. I'm not in any doubt about it, the power of it, the rightness of it. I have no doubt about that. You know. So then I felt that you ever feel that, man? Your heart lights up on fire, like with divine fire. It's not like any earthly experience whatsoever in the world. You know, and it leaves no doubt whatsoever in your mind, right? And then she turned, because she was like a portal, like, you know. And then she turned after she winked and smiled, and she turned to walk away. And she was walking away, and where she was, I could see through the portal, the window. It was like a meadow at night, like a meadow. And there was a full moon in the sky that particular, on her side of the portal, there was a full moon. And there was a wood, maybe about 500 yards away from her, that she was walking towards. You know, and the top of the trees were silver from the moonlight, from the full moon. And I knew that was the place where she lived, where she resided. You know, and there was such a strong feeling of resolution, of catharsis, like she could go home now, like the goddess was going home, because she knew that it was going to be okay, that I was going to carry it forward, carry the truth forward of her, of service, of reverence to the goddess and to women. I was going to carry that torch forward. She knew. Now it was assured that I, James Mullaney, was going to carry that forward. Therefore, she could go home and rest now, because it was going to succeed. It was the torch was going to be carried forward from her time, the medieval time, whenever she was, till this time. She could rest now, because my calling, my initiation was complete and was successful. And I knew then that that my initiation into the sacred mysteries was successful, and that I had found my life's purpose and my calling. You know, and and then when she was finally in the distance, the circle kind of closed up, and then it just disappeared like that. And then I turned on the radio. I had a Sony Dream Machine, and the first song I heard was "Legend in Your Own Time" by Carly Simon. If you ever listened to that happened to be the first song that I heard after the goddess appeared to me. There used to be these little cute little Sony, neat little nifty Sony radios, the square ones with the clock radio, and it's called the Sony Dream Machine. Had a white one, and as soon as I turned it on, after the goddess appeared, it was "Legends in Your Own Time." Okay, so after that, that was how I know. I don't care what any church says, any religion, anybody. I saw her. She told me that was the right thing to do, and I have no fear, no doubts whatsoever that I'm doing the right thing. So I want to pray to her now, Mistress. I've kept our agreement, our seal has been kept. I've kept your command. I've kept your command, Mistress. So please, on this day of the eclipse, please bless the whole world, heal the whole world of its pollution. Help the biosphere, cleanse the planet, take us through to the fifth dimension, complete the transition to the fifth dimension, goddess, because I feel that visitation that you gave me had something strongly to do with getting you through the fifth dimension. There's a lot more I could say, but it's getting up to close to 20 minutes in this video. So help us to transition through to the fifth dimension on the day of this great solar eclipse. Praise you, goddess. Praise you, mistress. Okay, and just one other thing I'm going to say is that that was on May 1st, 1987, and a year later, you draw what conclusion you want from this, okay? But a year later, Madonna was appearing on Broadway. I think it was the St. James Theater in a play by what the heck is that guy's name? Speed the Plow, David Mamet, right? So it just happened to be a year later, April 30th. I went down to the St. James Theater and I went up to the box office. It was on a Tuesday. April 30th, 88 was a Tuesday. I think, I'm pretty sure. And I went to the box office during the day, and I asked the guy for one ticket for Madonna. And the guy in the box office said to me, this was on a Tuesday, he said, I can let you have tonight in the balcony or tomorrow in the front row. So I went, oh, the no-brainer. I'll take tomorrow in the front row. Right? So I got a ticket, right? One ticket. And this was during previews, right? This was during previews. The show was in previews at this time. So I got one ticket for Madonna in the front row, and I went the next day. It was May 1st, 1988, so it was exactly 1 year to the day that the goddess had appeared to me in my room, that I saw Madonna on Broadway. I think it was off. Well, they determine that by the number of seats in the theater, whether it's Broadway or off Broadway. But yeah, man, and it was front row center, and I saw Madonna, and she was tremendous, incredibly beautiful, gorgeous. She was 29, incredible, one of the most memorable. But it happened to be one of the most memorable things. But it happened to be exactly 1 year to the day when the goddess appeared to me in my room. So that's no coincidence. I mean, that's a major synchronicity right there. And everybody knows what Madonna did. I mean, she was already the most famous person in the world, but she's just been like one of the greatest leaders. Madonna is one of the greatest leaders that Western civilization has ever had. So, but yeah, like that was exactly 1 year later. So, anyhow, have a great eclipse. So I hope all of you are opening up and discovering inner these inner like sheaths. Inner sheaths. Inner dimensions correspond to these inner sheaths that open up from within the center almost, these inner like flues, like a flue, F-L-U-E. I keep finding these inner reeds or inner flues or inner sheaths that seem to open from within, more and more from within, so that's what ascension has to do with. Okay, so have a good one, everybody. Bye. Thanks for listening.